Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, and we're back with our extra time segment, looking back at the Carabao Cup defeat to QPR. We are joined by James Pendleton from the Babbling Blues. Firstly, James, how are you feeling after yesterday?
Quite desensitised, to be honest. I think it doesn't really change much for a lot of people saying that we were never going to win this competition anyway. We would have got spanked by City's reserves, and it is true. This squad is nowhere near deep enough or good enough to win a cup competition. But last night I just kind of went to bed thinking, well, we're halfway there to another pointless trophyless season. It is just so draining. I don't think there's any way we would have gone on to win this competition. The squad just hasn't got the quality needed. But when you go out on penalties after a game you've not played very well in, carbon copy of the Huddersfield game in terms of we for some reason let them get into the game in the first half, and then because we are much better than them, we have much more quality. They offered us nothing in the way of threat for the second half. We just couldn't get the winning goal, and in the end, we were complacent. We weren't good enough, and we deservedly went out. So disappointed, but I think by now you kind of expect it out. You're almost an away game at a small ground in the middle of the week, and under the floodlights. The other team's always going to be up for it, and that's going to be the leveler in these sort of games, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I feel like it very much. We had Charlie on, who was a Queen's Park Rangers fan, and he was sort of saying what we can expect for them. And I can't help but think we played into their hands. He said they play expansive football, keep possession. And looking at some of the stats from yesterday, it really does look like we allowed them to just have the ball. We'll start off with talking firstly, though, about, I guess we'll have to start with their main goal scorer, which is Charlie Austin. I expected that he'd be in danger, said he'd score on the stream before it. Didn't expect him to get two, though. And I thought his first goal with Begovic could have been avoided under better goalkeeping. But do you think it was a matter of him playing that well, or do you think we were just poor?
He is just so average, Charlie Austin. I mean, I know I wasn't on when I was listening to this QPR fan talking, but he's fine for that level, but we should have been able to handle him. He's not like he's a big brute. He's a decent target man for his back to goal. He's a good poacher and he's a decent finisher, but he is a championship level striker, and we should have absolutely had to deal with him. First goal we really did, just playing through hands, letting a loose ball in the box. He thrives on them. And then the second goal, pretty much a free header at the back post again. He's gonna gobble them up because he's a decent goal scorer. So we played into their hands. We played into Huddersfield's hands. We kind of just let them do what they wanted. I know we're not a possession-based team, and we're never going to be under Benitez, but I think they had 61% possession come the end of the game, which, championship side or not, that is pretty embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. And I think with Charlie Austin as well, he scored 2 goals last night. He was on TalkSport today, on TalkSport Drive, I think it was. Like, he was slagging off Aaron Wan-Bissaka the other week on there. This fella's just, his career's coming towards an end, and we're just letting him absolutely boss us. And it's not the first time it's happened. We let Huddersfield do a number on us for sort of 20 minutes in the first round of the competition, and they probably should have taken the lead. We're quite lucky to still be level in that game. And I think we've just done the exact same thing again. We've gone to a ground where we've let them at every opportunity to get up. We played weak players in the centre of the park. You got bossed and bullied. I think didn't lead to any goal, but there was a tackle from Andre Gomez on that Chris Willock, who was terrorising us all for the first half, which just summed it up, where he was on the floor and Gomez still couldn't get the ball off him. Like, we just played into their hands, and when we made it 1-1, we should have really baked with blood there, gone for the kill, and we just didn't let them back into it, and I got our just desserts in the end, I think, it'd be fair to say.
We'll talk about our goals now. Luca Dean scored, and then Andros Townsend. When I saw Luca Dean score, I said to my dad, I was like, that's a player, obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing, but I said at the time, that's a player who needed some sort of confidence boost, you know, a goal or an assist or a good game, which coincidentally isn't how it turned out. Do you think, from his personal point of view, do you think that goal might spur him on a little bit? Because it's fair to say, for his standard, he struggled a little bit for the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were playing Southampton the first game of the season, and we scored the second goal. I remember the fellow stand next to saying how much better Coleman had been than Luca Dean, but the whole summer all we were doing was talking about Seamus Coleman. I think Luca Dean was offered for points last season. He got a bad injury. He got injured again in the summer, which definitely hasn't helped. And I think he was going to take a little bit of time to get back up to speed. I thought he was really poor on the weekend. Scored his own goal. Was a fault for the first one as well. I thought he was really poor against Burnley, and I don't think he's been great in the game, sort of in between the Southampton game and the Burnley match. But yeah, I think he did need someone just to boost his confidence. He needs to put a good ball in, get a nice assist, like you say, or scored a really, really good goal. I think two of our better players on the night, and just Townsend, head and shoulders up pretty much everyone personally. Dinked in a lovely ball to the back stick, and it's a cracking finish, especially after the goal. He just made a pretty good save. I don't want to call it an unbelievable save because Iwobi telegraphed his shot horrendously. But he made a good save against him, and it was high on confidence. And Luca Dean obviously did that and scored. But yeah, I think that could have been a real kick up the arse that he needs. And if we'd gone on to win that game, he hadn't got injured, I think that would have been nice. But again, stop start. God knows he's going to play left back for us on the weekend if he's not fit. But yeah, I think if he had stayed fit, that could have been the confidence boost that you talk about, because he does need that, I feel.
Well, coincidentally, you've raised a point that I'm a little bit concerned about as well. And very nicely, you mentioned obviously Seamus Coleman over the summer. And I remember saying to a couple of lads from the Toffee Blues channel, as much as the right back was highly spoken about, and we were pressing for right backs, the left back situation at the club, especially with Nkunku going out on loan, is in quite dire straits. Fabian Delph's injured as well, so even him as a makeshift left back. Do you think we're going to end up seeing Godfrey there, a bit like he was under Ancelotti?
Yeah, probably, yeah. I thought Godfrey played really poorly last night. I thought he was pretty crap at right back against Villa. Seems to do better at left back than he does at right back, maybe because there's absolutely no, I don't want to say expectation, but there's no real pressure on him because he's a centre half playing left back. Like, not something that should happen in 2021. Team should have players in the youth academy. Funnily enough, Thierry Small would have probably played last night, actually, to be fair. Never mind. And the Premier League is probably not going to be anywhere near the Southampton squad for this weekend game, but that's neither here or there, I suppose. I just hope Luca Dean's fit, because if Coleman's not fit and he's not fit, then we're going to have Godfrey at left back and we're going to have John Joe Kenny at right back. And John Joe Kenny is a championship level quality player at best for my money. I thought he was absolutely diabolically poor last night for someone who's meant to be, or was meant to be going for £15 million to Schalke a couple of seasons ago. So I think it probably will end up being Godfrey if Luca Dean isn't fit, but I really, really hope he is. The fact that we haven't got someone playing in the youth teams, I think Kyle John or Joe Anderson, one of the two, I think is probably most likely. I think it's Joe Anderson, actually, who's probably the best suited to play left back. But yeah, let's just hope it doesn't come to that, eh?
Hopefully not. Obviously, we spoke about, and you've mentioned, we'll get through a couple of the players individually, but you've mentioned a couple that have had a rough night. But you also mentioned one man who, leaps and bounds, has actually been a very, as well as Gray, has actually really impressed me. And this is the second time in the Carabao Cup that he sort of nearly, obviously this time nearly saved us, but saved us the first time in Andros Townsend, who assisted Luca Dean as well as getting a goal. How brilliant has he been since joining?
He's been really good, yeah, and I think if he was shying off the back of a David Moyes sort of level season, I think a lot of people would have said, yeah, that's fine, it's absolutely fine signing, because it's the kind of player I would imagine Everton would have signed 10 years ago, and they would have really enjoyed him. I think a lot of people said that it was almost an embarrassing signing, which I suppose it kind of is, really. Look at the height we were at one stage, and now signing players who couldn't even get another contract at Crystal Palace. But I think you've got to give him his due, haven't you? I think he's got 6 goal involvements. I believe that's what he got for the whole of last season, in all competitions. So you've got to give it to him. He's been really, really good. I thought for their first goal, he failed to track the player who stuck the ball in, which then got saved by Begovic, which I think is a bit of a red mark against him. But overall, his work rate's been really good. The tackle he made late on against Brighton kind of summed him up. And he's got the quality to match. So I think, well, the numbers would suggest he's probably been even better than Gray. Gray's obviously scored 3 goals and has been direct and is a bit younger and cost a bit of money. So he's naturally going to be more exciting. Obviously, I don't deny that. But I think for Andros Townsend, he played brilliantly against Burnley, got a goal and assist, played really well last night, got a goal and an assist. And the fact that we're now relying on Andros Townsend is if you'd asked me this 4 years ago when we signed Clarkson and Keane and Pickford and Lazic all over that summer, I would have thought he'd been relegated, to be honest with you, if he got onto this stage. But fair play to him, and I've been really, really pleased with him, and it's getting to the point now where you're kind of saying, I hope he stays fit, so.
Obviously, you mentioned, the fan reaction, and when we did sign him, I openly said on the channel that he's an okay, backup, but I didn't want him as the right winger full out. Obviously, in hindsight, that is what happened. But obviously, fans were a bit disgruntled by it. And like you said, under a Moyes sort of season, I think people would have appreciated it. Do you think it's almost a bit of like we've been spoilt by the riches of, the money we've been throwing around in the last couple of years? Do you think that's almost sort of spoiled us? Because I do agree that under David Moyes, people would have probably clapped this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you say that you didn't want him to be a starter, you wanted him to be a backup. That would have been every Everton fan. No Everton fan would have gone into the season saying, I want Andros Towns to be our main man. I was sat to this very chair I was talking to one of my mates on PlayStation. I'd just seen his interview on TalkSport where he got asked, what club are you going to? He said, I can't answer. And he said, they asked him questions like, did he play in blue or did he play in red or are they in the north? Have you never played from before? And I was crossing all the teams off and I was like, he's either going to sign for us, Wolves or Leicester, I think it was. And then me and mate were just saying, oh, God, no way, we're signing Andros Towns and there's absolutely no chance he's going to come to us. I really didn't want it to happen. But, he came in and as soon as someone comes in, whether it's him, whether it's Gray, whether it's Benitez, you got to kind of support them. You got to back them and say that you're going to be there and you're going to be cheering them on. And in terms of the impact he's made, it's been really, really pleasing. And yeah, I think I don't even necessarily feel like we've been spoiled by sort of the richer things in life. I think people are quite happy that we're being a bit smarter in the market. But I just think if we'd gone to another team and maybe even the Championship and we picked up a player for free who caught the back of a good season, he was 23, 24 or whatever. I think Palace went and signed Michael Elise for 6 or 7 million or 8 million maybe from Reading. And we've done a deal like that, but got someone who maybe wasn't quite as impactful as him, maybe a little bit older, but on a free or for 500 grand, a million, quid, whatever it might have been, people would have said, yeah, that's the kind of business we need to be doing. But I just think the fact that it is Andros Towns and he hasn't got a sexy name, he's 30, West Talksport's got an air transplant, all these things. People aren't going to say he's like the most sort of, I don't quite know, he's not the sexiest player in the world, basically, is kind of what I'm trying to say. Whereas I think someone like Damari Gray, a bit younger, played in the Premier League before, more direct, quicker, stuff like that. But technically, Andros Townsend's a really decent footballer, and I think you can tell that when a lot of people come to Everton, they say they're going to work hard, they're going to try hard. It doesn't happen all the time. It definitely has happened with Andros Townsend, but he's had the quality to match them. I think full marks for him so far, and as I say, I hope he just carries it on the weekends.
Well, unfortunately, getting back to the game, you mentioned obviously the stats and ball possession. You were spot on the money, 61% for QPR. It's fair to say we had more shots and chances created. Although I must admit, when I watched it, I didn't really feel that sort of way. But just try. Do you think it was? Why do you think we went in with the result we got? Do you think it's how we set up, or do you think it's changing the styles, or do you think it's more a mentality issue?
I think the only thing I'd say about the manager, I just think he's picked the worst centre-back pairing he could have done with Holgate and Godfrey. I've banged the drum. I don't think Holgate's good enough to play for Everton for probably 18 months now. He had a good sort of few months period under Ferguson / Ancelotti where he looked like he was quite decent. I said he should have got an England call-up, which I'd stick by, but I don't know, he seems to think he's good on the ball, strong, quick. Reality is, I think he's just a bang average defender, and the fact that he gets spooned out to right back quite often sort of tells you a lot when you don't know what position you are, and when you're playing first team football, it certainly doesn't help. I think other than that, I don't think the manager could have done much more in terms of the players. I do just think it's the mentality and the fact that, these lads should have gone out. I don't want to keep banging on about Andre Gomez. I put on our account saying he's the least effective footballer I can think of playing for Everton, and he went out last night and he got generally bullied. And when you got players getting bullied against lesser opposition, it doesn't matter how much money you are, how much money you cost, anything like that. They're going to play around you, and that's exactly what QPR did. And it's just frustrating because we just need to sort of go into these games and just think, if we can't beat them in the first 45 minutes, don't lose the game in the first 45 minutes because they got tired. The crowd didn't have much to cheer for. They had nothing at all in the second half. We obviously scored the goal and we had a couple of half chances of penalty appeal, stuff like that. But I think the overall reason why it came out of the game was really poor first 45 minutes. You've let it go to the loft through penalties. A Sunday League team can beat a Premier League team on penalties. It doesn't matter. Like it is a complete and utter lottery, and we've let it get to that stage, and we were rightly punished. We missed the best chance in the whole game was Alex Iwobi's, and even that came from a mistake. We just weren't good enough. And whilst the stats will probably say we were overall the better team, it's a cup game, and I just think that if a championship team takes you to penalties, they deserve everything they get, and then that's exactly what happened to them.
So obviously we've mentioned a couple. We'll get on to the penalties and who's was good. Well, obviously only one of ours missed, but it was quite a thrilling penalty shootout. But we'll go first for the full 90. Just who I want your sort of best players of the night, if that's possible for you.
Andros Townsend was definitely our best player. For Anthony Gordon was he's just a little bit rough around the edges for my liking. I do like some of what he does. It's a little bit mixed. I think he had 5 minutes where he wasn't too good, 5 minutes where he was a bit better. But he is still young, and I want to see him in the team, so I'm glad he's playing. I think he made the most key passes in the match. I think Paddy Boylan tweeted before, so he looked decent. Thought he was okay. Yeah, and that's it. I think Luca Dean was all right, fine, scored a good goal, and then after that, I think everyone else was either okay or pretty poor. Kenny, Gomez, Iwobi, Rondon. Yeah, so I think in terms of who played well, Jacoy played all right when he came on as well, but he should be absolutely running the show against that shower. So, yeah, I think the only standout was probably Andros Townsend for me.
I think the easier one would have been to ask you the players that didn't play well. Obviously, you mentioned Kenny, Holgate, Gomez. You mentioned then Solomon Rondon. Do you feel like when he did go off, because obviously he's not played, I think it was May. Do you think it is fatigue on his part that he's not sort of playing? I think it's fair to say he hasn't played well in the last 2 games. Do you think that's a fatigue issue?
Oh, I hope it is, because if it's not fatigue, then we've signed a real stinker. But no, I think it is, to be fair. What I did find hilarious was he went off. He fell off scraps all game. Let's not get twisted. He had absolutely nothing. He needs to do more himself, definitely, but he wasn't done any favours. As soon as he went off, like Luca Dean, I think it was put an absolute peach of a cross in, and you're looking towards the heads of Damari, right, Anthony Gordon, rather than the big 6 foot plus absolute bull in the china shop centre forward. We had up front for 60, 70 minutes, and I said to my dad, as soon as that cross went, I was like, the corner we scored from did barely even left the floor. That's the quality of crossing that had gone in the whole game. And then as soon as the big powerhouse centre forward, absolute shit house, get his head on the end of anything goes off, we put an absolutely brilliant delivery in. So I do hope it is fatigue. I do think it probably is fatigue as well. In an ideal world, you would come on against Burnley, got his reception. He probably wouldn't have played from the start tonight. I think they would have stuck with Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin if they were fit. And then from there on in, he'd just be emergency backup, maybe playing the next round, depending on who we got. But I think in an ideal world, we wouldn't have seen Rondon play until after the international break. But because our squad's has finished paper, he's had to play 2 games when he's nowhere near fit enough. So I think he did need to do more, but overall, he's been dealt a pretty tough hand. So I'm not too concerned yet. I'll have to see how he gets on after the internationals and see how much he obviously plays then too,
Obviously, he's very stuck for choice, to be honest, the manager. But there were a few people sort of saying that, they'd like to have seen Elliot Sims get a bit of a run out, especially when we took him off. Is that something you sort of wish we'd done? Took a number 9 off to put another proper number 9 on?
It's hard to say, really. I think I would have liked to have seen it, but I think kind of logically thinking about it, Ellis Sims also hasn't played since May. I don't believe he got injured in the warm-up for the playoff final, didn't he, for when Blackpool played, obviously. So I'm not too sure. But then again, you have to say if he's not fit enough, why is he on the bench? Rondon's not fit enough and he's starting. So it's one of them. I would have liked to have seen him, and I think if he were a couple of goals up, he would have come on for sure. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I'm not entirely sure how good Ellis Sims is. I think he looked all right at League One level last season. playing in a two, and maybe that was part of Benitez's thinking that maybe he's not quite ready to play as a lone striker at basically championship level yet. So obviously, there's big rumours that he's going to go back to Blackpool in January, which will be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm not convinced we're going to see too much about Sims. I don't think he's actually made his debut yet, as he had. Don't believe. I know he's been in the squad. I know he was in the squad against Sheffield United the back end of Ancelotti's first half season. I remember when he was included then. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen him, but I just don't feel as if the atmosphere was quite right for him to come on when the game was still in the balance, and he definitely also isn't fit enough yet, I don't think.
Obviously, we spoke about him, and we spoke about a couple of the others. I want to get your thoughts on Begovic. He really, from what I could gather on Twitter, didn't go down too well with the fans. What were your thoughts on his game?
I always say that when a goal, I think that's most from the penalty shootout, to be fair. And I always sort of say when a goalie goes to penalty shootout, they can never really be blamed. There's a couple of penalties he got big hands to, and he's not saved them, which is disappointing. And those are the sort of circumstances where I'd say, yeah, he has to do better there. The blame doesn't fall at Asmir Begovic's door, though. For my money, I think he didn't really have anything to do during the whole game. He made, I think, one save I can recall, one or two saves. Could have done a bit better with the first goal. Didn't have much to do with the second. And then, as I say, he probably should have saved at least one of the penalties that he got a big hand to. But as I say, it's a lottery. It's been unfortunate. Their goal, he nearly saved one of our penalties as well. I think it was Damari Gray's. So, as I say, it happens. I don't blame too much the goalkeeper. I think maybe if, say, their goalie hadn't have saved Tom Dave's penalty because it was a shockingly poor bobbling penalty towards him. It was a pretty easy save in the end. Then that'll be maybe where the inquest come in. But I don't have too much blame towards Asmir Begovic personally. Just interested to see whether Jordan Pickford would have played if he was fit or not. And obviously, we hope he's back soon, but it probably won't be this weekend either, which is a shame.
Well, coincidentally, I was going to play devil's advocate and sort of ask you, do you think if Jordan Pickford was fit with his sort of reputation with penalties, and obviously he showed that in the Euros, do you think we could have been looking at a different result?
Yeah, definitely. I think he would have won the game if he was in goal, basically, because I think he is a much better penalty saver, or he's certainly a good penalty saver. And from what I've seen from Asmir Begovic, he let a lot in during the Florida Cup game. The only save was from their goalie, I believe. So, yeah, I think it would have been interesting to see whether Jordan Pickford had played, because maybe if he'd only missed that one game on the weekend, and obviously we got beat 3-0, I think Benitez would have just said, look, we need to win this game. We're going to go as strong as we possibly can in as many areas as we can. So I think he would have played, and yeah, the result probably would have been different. But obviously, you got to talk about the butterfly effect, and hindsight, maybe one of the other goals might not have gone in. You never know, do you? So, but I think stripping it down to basics, yeah, I think we probably would have been looking at a different result if we had a different goalkeeper in net.
We'll get on to the penalties. Sort of give me your, obviously there was only one that was missed, and it's Tom Davies's. Give me your sort of feeling though on the penalties as a whole. I saw someone tweet that we should have knew our luck was up when Godfrey had his retaken, and sort of saying that was when we knew our luck was up. But give me your sort of overall feelings on the penalties and the quality of a couple of them.
Well, they were decent, to be fair. I think it was Damari Gray who Semi Dien got a hand on. I think it was his. I've tried to erase it from my memory, to be honest. But I think when Godfrey's, I wasn't even thinking about appealing from the referee. It's done the rounds all this week, because obviously the other lot have played AC Milan. But you've seen Jerzy Dudek being stood on the halfway line during one of the Milan penalties. It wasn't exactly that, was it? And the quality stream I was watching, I had no idea. So that was incredibly lucky, and the fact that he slipped as well and it went in. It's then you kind of think, is this going to be a moment we look back on when we get to Wembley, the fact that our centre half slipped and missed one, but we still got through, or is it where you look and say, well, we're not going to get that lucky again, and so we didn't. But for the quality penalties was all right, to be fair. I was quite worried when you see, and I think it was Keane and Holgate stepped up first. Wasn't a natural penalty taker in the whole team. I was glad to see Anthony Gordon scored his after he missed in the Florida Cup. But just interesting, isn't it? Because obviously you look at it and you say, every time anyone went up, other than probably Townsend, I think he's the only player I was pretty confident about. You're thinking, oh God, I can't believe he's stepping up. Him and Gray, probably the only ones, and you're thinking that. And then you look at their plays and you think every single one of them's deadly from 12 yards, but there'll be some players there who've never kicked the ball. I think their winning penalty came from a centre half, for example. So yeah, disappointing, obviously, as I mentioned, but I did think the overall quality of them was decent, to be fair.
Finally, before we end, obviously the Carabao Cup is gone now behind us. The next cup competition for us is going to be the FA Cup. Do you have much hope?
No, because we're going to get Liverpool away in the first round, like we always seem to do. That's a much, much harder competition to win. More teams are asked about it. You get teams who get knocked out of the Champions League and then they're still in the FA Cup, so they want to go hell for leather for that. You saw Leicester win it last season, play Chelsea in the final, two teams who would absolutely spank us in this competition. Chelsea could pick 2 or 3 starting 11s and they would give our second string a run for the money. We can have players out injured by the time they come around. I've got no doubt we'll have 3 games in 6 days. Now, it's a much harder competition to win. And yeah, the League Cup's the only one I think Everton really need to focus on to try and win, because teams want to play their strongest teams when they get into the Champions League and when they're in the group stage and what have you, and they want to make an early lead in the Champions League race or the title race. But I feel like by the time the FA Cup comes around, teams know where they stand and they can sort of pick and choose if they want to win that or not. And more often than not, you see at least 1 or 2 big teams in the finals like you normally do. So no, not at all. But look, let's see what happens. I'd absolutely love us to. So let's see.
No problem. And we will end it all there though for the preview. For the extra time. Thank you for coming on, James. Don't forget, you can like the video, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on the QPR game. I'm pretty sure you won't be holding back in the comments section on letting us know your thoughts on the game. Don't forget, you can also check James and the Babbling Blues out. The links will be in the description down below, as is the link to the Everton Direct store where you can buy all your Everton merchandise and stay safe.